Dan was here, Paul was here. So we can't approve the meeting, we can't approve the minutes till next meeting. That's okay by you guys, because we're not present, we can't vote. All right.
But if we weren't, if we're not present, we.
We're not present, we can't vote. We didn't do it last time, but we need to elect the chairman.
I nominate John.
Second.
I nominate Dan.
No seconds.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Same. Okay, that takes care of that. All right, then why don't you do your stuff?
All right, we can jump right into finance. Still early, no budget issues. No budget issues today. And the program account right now still got about 10 grand in there. So we're looking pretty good budget-wise.
Any money have to come out of that account? Do we owe anybody anything?
We'll probably have to pay some instructors, but that'll be more towards as we start getting the summer money in, so that we should be paid. As long as we pay by the end of fiscal year, so.
Okay. We don't know anything substantial before that. Okay. We're on good terms with the budget as it is currently. We are how long into it? So
5 months into it.
6 months into it. We are
Six
into our 7th month.
July.
Into our 7th month, right, fiscal year. You got any shockers coming down the road or not?
Shoppers, no. That'd be pretty good. Next up, we talked about the fee schedule. And
Why don't you do the rest of your stuff? You got anything else?
we can go to the correspondence.
We'll make the fees a separate discussion.
One of the other things we talked about last month was camperships and how do we distribute camperships. What I put in here was a couple of different forms that we can use, and one that we are using. The first one, this is the one that we currently use. It's not that invasive. We don't ask for a lot of information. The way we dealt with camperships in the past was, say for instance, Steve Nato. Of course, you know, the principal of Park Elementary in Bakerville. He would submit some names of kids who he know that they had a need, however many kids, maybe 15 or so kids, and we would award them camperships. And other people that came in that Steve didn't submit, let's say someone came off the street and said, hey, we look for some assistance, we would have them fill out this form, and like I said, the form is not that invasive, and we would, you know, help them out if we can help them out. And also talk to a couple of the other towns, and if you can see Middletown, for instance, if a family is on TANF, temporary aid for needy families, they automatically go to camp for free. And Vernon, Bristol, Burlington, Groton, some of those guys will go through social service.
Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. And some of those guys will go through social services, and if they, if the applicant were to qualify, then they'll kick it back over to the rec department, who would administer the campusship or scholarship. I mean, there's a couple of ways we can do it. You know, we could sometimes ask for, you know, tax returns and pay stubs and all that. But those are bigger towns. And like I said, what we've been doing lately, I think is pretty adequate, and we can continue with the route of talking to the schools and have those guys submit names of kids who are in need, families that are in need.
How many do we do a year, you know?
I would say over the past few years it's started to climb a little bit. Maybe about 25, anywhere from full to partial. Maybe about 25, kids.
I think the schools are a great source for it because they're gonna have gone through the food
Lunch program.
lunch programs that,
Yeah.
whatever criteria to determine whether they're in need for support for the lunch programs. I think that's a great primary source and a valid way of determining, clearly if they qualify for support in lunch programs through the school system. And that's, and the principals of the schools, probably one of the main sources in town. They're gonna have the intimate knowledge of the family situations.
Yeah.
Maybe we kind of work backwards a little bit. Maybe we have a set amount that we're willing to offer out, whether it be number of spaces. You see Winding Trails, it says they offer 70 spaces, 70. Maybe we come up with a number, like it is 25, or we come up with a number of dollars that we can afford to offer out as camperships. And kind of work backwards a little bit. What kind of percentage, Dennis, is that, do you know, as far as the amount of money that we...
I would say anywhere from 12 to 15%, something like that.
Okay. We have to have some kind of a criteria, but yeah, go ahead.
I just hate to see somebody be not allowed, or somebody be missed, knowing the difference that it makes for a kid.
See,
Yeah.
we have two.
I don't think.
We have specialty camps now. That's not, you don't get any camperships for that. Those, because we have to pay instructors. We pay out instructors. So we have specialty
It's
camps,
just general camp.
or regular camp is what we're talking about. So
Yeah.
not the specialty part of it.
Why don't we ask either Steve or we have a new principal at Planning? Kate still doing it?
Amanda Shaw is the new principal.
Okay.
She was in curriculum, she's been there quite a while,
Yeah.
but,
Maybe we can't, are they in charge of, social services kind of things for awarding?
They handle it internally. I don't know the specific criteria, but I think that there's gotta be some way that they could just show a letter that they qualified there. That's when we talked briefly, you and I
Yeah,
talked about,
right.
that was one way, and then Christine has the other way that we do, fuel oil assistance, which is there's a financial limit with criteria. It's very specific.
And that's the way the Bristol Rec Department does. If a family submits a letter from a principal, teacher, social worker, and that's another way that they do it. Middletown.
Well, I think that if we, even if we're talking about perhaps as many as, maybe 40 would be overwhelming. But given the size of the town and our program, I think number one, if we don't already, we should probably limit camperships to town residents. But the second thing is, when we fill out this simple form, if you could just verify through Christine, the fuel oil thing, or whichever principal would be appropriate, given the class they're in, that yes, the principal thinks, given the situation that family qualifies, or Christine would say, yes, they're qualified for fuel assistance. And I think that, rather than asking for tax returns and all that other stuff, which can, people can feel intimidated about and choose not to go to camp, as opposed to giving you some kind of detailed. And if there's another organization in town that helps support people in need, then we simply verify, they give us the application that they want assistance, and we verify through one of our sources that yes, in fact, they do need.
Can we agree that you have to be on some kind of assistance in order to get a camper ship? Meaning fuel assistance, meaning lunch program, that you have to have some kind of assistance in order to qualify for this.
And be a town resident, I think that should be
Well,
definitely.
even a town resident,
Well, there's some families who are not on assistance, and
Assistance.
they, you know, if
That
4
don't.
kids and they work and just, you know.
yeah.
So how do we verify, I mean, is there
Well-
another arbitrary, not arbitrary?
Well, I think
Not
what you said,
arbitrary.
though, I think a family, I mean, think they'd be aware of a family on low income or a number of children or whatever. But I don't, you know, there's some people that don't go for assistance, but they can't afford.
Right.
Well, now we're guessing.
Well,
You know.
I happen to know
No,
in particular,
Yeah.
and it's not burning, you know, has an empty furnace.
Yeah, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with some kind of a, you know, a guideline that we can follow, that, you know, allows us to make that decision
But
more competently instead of arbitrary. You're just saying, yeah, okay, you can have it,
Yeah.
you know, you know,
But is there
there
any
may,
reason
because we
why
may get in a
this-
situation where a person that's getting it maybe shouldn't get it, and somebody that really should get it doesn't get it,
Hmm.
you know?
Have you run into that, though?
Well, we don't know.
Run into what?
Somebody who got it or shouldn't have, or?
Are we
I
doing
mean,
anything like this currently?
Well, this is the form we use right now.
Where
So
you're
we are
saying
do-
for-
we are-
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
right
camper
now,
ships, right now.
we get from the school, Steve Nato, he'll, you know, submit some names and that we know these kids really need it. And sometimes Antolini, you know, call over and, you know, give us a few names, so, yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
And you said that currently there's about 15 or 20 kids that take advantage of this?
Yeah.
Is there any reason to believe that that's gonna skyrocket? I mean, like, if this is already being done, I mean, what are we talking about expanding it? What are we
Just
talking
need to
about?
codify the policy.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
What's-
how
trying,
to
yeah.
handle
okay.
We're trying to come up with a specific criteria on how families or kids qualify.
Well, hasn't what we've been doing already worked?
Yeah,
That would
I
be
think the
my
question
question,
is,
is if we're doing it now.
Is there somebody that get it that shouldn't get it? Of course, somebody may slip through the crack.
Yeah.
But 99,
Yeah.
I think, percent of the kids who take advantage of this really needs it.
Is there any
Yeah.
reason to believe that any of the kids that have gone through this at this point
No.
weren't eligible for it?
No.
Or we may not know. You know, we may not
Well,
know.
I think you do know.
I
I
think
think
by the time they,
Yeah.
you get to know the kids, by the
You
time they come to
know.
camp, you kind of know
Yeah.
if you can take it for a ride or
I mean,
not.
this isn't a big city, I mean, you would
Yeah.
think that you would know
Yeah.
if a certain kid, you know, came along and
Yeah.
they apply for this, and you said, what the hell are you talking about? I know, you know, like,
I'll, you know, the point of this whole
And you've
thing is
got
just to come up
this.
with some kind of a criteria that people have to qualify, instead of it being, you know, left in Dennis's hand to make a decision like, okay, I'm gonna pick this kid over this kid. You see what I mean?
There was one kid who came in a Rolls Royce and he asked for
You thought, well,
Are you
I'm-
serious?
His butler filled out the application form.
I
I
think some of what we're seeing, and we probably will see it throughout this year in particular, is the chaos we experienced last fall because of growth, and everybody had operated within unspecified rules until the issues that arose in Brody South. So I think as we go through this year, a lot of the stuff that for the history of the Rec Commission has been, yeah, this is the way we do it. We now need to be a little more specific as to why it's done this way, so when something comes up, we can point back and say, this is the decision that the Rec Board made. So that, yes, it hasn't been an issue in the past. Why do we have to waste time on the issue? To avoid the huge issues we had last fall coming up in this area.
I would think a simple policy is, obviously it's mandatory New Hartford resident, and you can qualify for either or. if you qualify through the schools for a reduced lunch program where you had to go through income verification, or if you qualify for the fuel oil assistance program through town hall and your income's been verified, either venue would provide the parents with a note that would be provided. Then that takes the administrative end away from Dennis. He doesn't have to go through it again, the families that are qualifying. If they haven't gone through it, you know.
Does it now open up the door that, anyone that is on the lunch program or on fuel assistance, all of a sudden we get 100 of them?
Right.
Because they automatically think that they can get a free pass if
Yeah,
they can.
there still has to be some kind of discussion, I think, you know, that can get them in the door, but what if we get 100 kids that come in? I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but now we're broke, because now we're, you know? But I think those things.
First come, first served, capped at a number to be decided by,
It's
this
like one of the trails.
And
I
we
think
just brought that up a few minutes ago, that maybe we limit it to X amount. You know, either a percentage of dollars or number of camperships. That's probably what we should do.
kid gets a free camp one summer, maybe you go in favor of another kid next summer, and then, you know, depending on what the demand is. It's
Yeah.
hard to foresee. I just think that it's a good idea to codify.
Right. Why don't we build that into the process, that if you're on fuel assistance or you're on a lunch program, that becomes part of the criteria, but
I don't know if this additional item would run into time issues, but if we have applicants that don't have that support from either area, rather than having Dennis be put in a position, if there's time, this board would then make, Dennis would bring to this board the names of applicants who are not verified by
Or we have a
one of
subcommittee.
those two.
yeah, we have a subcommittee, you know, a couple of commission members.
Right.
Dennis.
So that, because there would be other ways perhaps of looking into a need, like Maureen says, there are people in this town that have needs that don't access it in either of those venues, but they might want to access it through camp.
And for their child, but they're not.
But the vast majority of it might be verified independently through those other two sources.
To all of us, we'd let a lot of kids go.
Not them all.
We just would, you know.
Yeah, but you know when it's extreme, you know.
That's why we
And,
make,
you know, and I think this form,
I
filling
think
this
the
out,
form is
fine,
Yeah.
because it's, you know, for some people just filling it out is hard. They really want to be able to pay, you know, for good ones.
I still think we should we should still have access to more information,
Well, yeah, and we are getting that.
which you can get. Dennis can get this without any trouble, yeah? He just calls the school and says,
No, the schools won't release it directly to anybody other than the family. The family would have to acquire that and then bring it to you.
okay, all right.
There's confidentiality restrictions.
Yep, okay.
All right, so what are we saying?
Well, you probably should come up with some kind of a limit as to how many we want to get out.
This form is good, but it doesn't
Can
have any
you-
verification.
can-
That's the bottom line.
Can you,
You know, it's a good general thing, but when it does come down to verifying those in need, you have to have some level. As difficult and, you know, uncomfortable as it may be, there has to be some way to verify. You know, you're talking about town assets and town funds ultimately be expended on somebody that, you know, it's,
But as far as we know, we haven't had a difficulty.
you know, and you'll avoid difficulties in the future by codifying a specific policy.
can you find out how many camperships each year for the last 3 years?
Yep.
So again,
Dennis, for the next meeting, can find out how many camperships we've had each year for the last 3 years. Because this has been the toughest economic time, so my guess is this is where we're gonna find the most. So if we cap it, we can do that, if we talk about a cap, we can do it based on what we've had for need over the last
we probably should have a cap. But I'm not against having some kind of, justification from someone that they bring in some kind of a letter that says that they are in some kind of assistance. One, it makes his job a hell of a lot easier. It doesn't put a lot of pressure on him. It
So
actually helps him.
basically, when we come to the final decision, all we're gonna need to is include a bottom line supported by
Yeah.
fuel assistance, school, or whatever else we may be able to brainstorm as.
They get some verification that shows that they are in financial.
Right, so this form is good, except
I like
for
that.
that one more line.
Okay.
So the campus ships that have been done up until now, there has been no cap, the number has only been set by the people who have applied for it, is that it?
Yeah, we haven't had a cap. Well, we haven't had a cap, but we haven't,
Hasn't been
You know,
open.
haven't gone bankrupt, let the kids get in.
Let's get the information from Des as far as how much we have done in the past, and let's also amend this to include some kind of verification that there is some kind of a financial need. Because again, it does make Dennis's job a lot
You got time.
easier. Yeah. Well, we're gonna get on another subject too, so we're kind of backtracking a little bit as far as what our timetable on a bunch of stuff, which looks like our timetable has to be either, in some cases, the February meeting or the absolute latest March meeting because of our brochure. The brochure's got to
Right.
be out.
Good idea.
So, all right, okay, let's do that. All right, go ahead, Dennis.
The next item I want to bring up is the challenge course, the ropes course. Met with the insurance rep today, and we seem to be on the same page about all the things we're trying to do to make it happen. He said he would provide literature that we can use, that we won't have to reinvent the wheel. I asked about outside groups coming in to maybe rent it out. He said it's not a good idea, but if the school, New Hartford schools want to come in and use it, that's something that can happen. And the first thing we need to do is a site plan. Met with Rista, and she said we need to provide a site plan. So that's the next thing that we would need to do in order to move this down the road.
I wasn't at the last meeting, so.
You know what you want,
Further
what?
discussion.
Yeah, right, if you walk outside of Birch Hall and take a right, and in the summertime you can't see it, but there's a little spot where we used to pour a campfire, every now and then. It's right inside of there, and the guy who came out and looked at it said it'd be a good spot right there. And we talked about safety and putting the equipment away. The high elements, those are things that you can roll up 12, 15 feet. You keep kids away, or whoever, away from climbing. And the low elements, those are things we can just pick up and store in one of the cabins.
Okay, we've gone through the laundry list of what needs to be done, certifications, training.
Yep, that's the other thing we talked over with the insurance rep. Anyone who, you have to be certified in order to run this course. I would get certified myself, and anyone who's instructing a course would have to be certified.
Funding.
Oh, damn.
Any takers?
The estimate was 13 to 15 or something?
Yeah, it was more to 15, somewhere up there.
Mhm. Well, I think that's the larger thing that you and I talked about, John, is that, and we did have a brief discussion at the last meeting that, obviously you were tied up about really all different ideas for capital projects. I bought some pictures for everybody for the field house roof. The field house roof is basically done.
Okay.
The seal to the weather, all the shingles are on the top, the pre-engineered trusses and the pitch of the roof has been done. He's working now to you know, obviously when you raise the pitch of the roof, and this is an in-process shot, but when you raise the pitch of the roof, you create a hole. So he's now going back around the sides, doing all the trim work and closing that up. But we did talk, I mean, I threw out half a dozen ideas, some of this stuff.
Is this something that could be included in the coming fiscal year, as far as the budget is concerned?
Yeah, well, that's what we talked about last time, is that when we talked about it, is that we really need to get an idea. I know you and I talked about in the past that these, the 5-year capital plans have been more wish list oriented and everything, but I think, you know, we really need to get a little bit more defined, I think, in my opinion, of just what the future direction is. I know there's different discussions about possible land acquisitions that Dan is advocating for and sending out information on. That, you know, is that going to come at the expense of capital, or I don't know where that money's supposed to come from at this point, or are we asking for even more money, or, you know, what, I want to see what the consensus of this group is in terms of what everybody, what direction you want to go in. I think that the field house offers a lot of interim projects from here on out, and I think that, in my personal opinion, it may in fact lend itself a little bit better to rec programs and laboratories with the septic system thing, rather than having a bunch of different buildings and multiple septic systems, or one large septic system shared. I think you have a 6,400 square foot building, and one septic system over there might be an idea. I'm just throwing things
Yeah, no, I
out
understand.
there. But
Can we assume that this 15,000, let's say that, you know, we want to move forward with this, can we, is there money available in this fiscal year budget to do a project like this?
in this year's budget, no.
Okay.
Unless we come in, by the grace of God, on Brown's Corner way low. And then I go back to the finance board like I told you that I would, and we try to advocate for them, you know, approving us to
Okay.
use that on rec, which is
All right.
what we've discussed back
Yeah.
in the past.
How, geez, I don't want to get off on too many different avenues here, but if we're to try, let's say the commission decides to go this route, which means we need to find X amount of dollars, $15,000 to $17,000, whatever it is. We need to target an area where we're gonna find that. We don't have it. We meaning.
Just go for
Recreation
new capital funds in this
does that.
budget that's getting ready to come out.
As far as
This is what your
Brown's,
recommendation
yeah, as
is.
far as Brown's is concerned, when will we know where we're gonna come in as far as that budget is concerned?
Well, I mean, I
Just-
you know, I would have loved to have all that fill out of there and have the job bid by now. I think that I'd like to have it bid by March. You know, I meant to give Tim another call today to say, hey, you know, how we doing?
Yeah.
But, you know, I'd love to, I think confidently we'll have that project done by the end of the fiscal year. The funds don't expire,
Okay.
they're capital
Right,
funds.
right.
The thing is, you know, what are you gonna build and when are you gonna build it? I don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna go building a ropes course in the middle of February or March.
No, I understand that, but if we're trying to project that, look out into the future, it'd be, so your feeling is that you might have bids in by March or April for what needs to be done.
Because I'd love to have it done by the beginning of baseball season and wrap that up. I know that we can get it done by the end of June, it's just, you know, what kind of weather are we gonna get? Is it gonna be another swamp out, you know, wet spring?
Okay, so we'll have a better indication within the next 3 months where the budget stands as far as Brown's Corner goes, and if there'll be any money left over, and if we proceed that way, as far as going back to the board.
Well, I mean, I think that maybe the best path, if you feel uncomfortable about going out so far into the future with capital plans, is just prioritizing your next 5 jobs. You know, what do you see, you know, whether it's, you know, are we serious about removing the Brody House, or are we serious about putting lights back on Callahan? Which, you know.
Callahan's out. You can forget that. We talked about it last meeting.
Yeah.
This commission, 2 years ago, said it's not worth it. The reason being, outside basketball runs from May to September. Kids don't play any later than 8:30 to 9 o'clock at night. It stays daylight until 8, so you're talking about spending $10,000 for a half an hour a night for 40 nights. It makes no sense. I mean, it would be great. It's on the wish list. If we get a huge sum of money, would we like to put lights down there? Yes. But when you have to
I think
allocate
we should
dollars.
just
We're,
stop
we're
talking.
agreeing, we're agreeing that we prioritize.
Okay, so we're agreeing, that's fine. So, you know, I mean, I brought up several hiking trail improvement
Yep,
projects.
And we've discussed that in the past too.
You
so
know,
we're-
I mean,
We're in favor of that.
Next year, some siding on the field house. I mean, I just threw things out to start a
Well,
discussion.
Yeah, and we do have our, you know, our list of improvements that we wanna make. Some are expensive and some are not as expensive. But the trails, that is something that we have discussed over the last several years, obviously, and something that we would wanna do. Everybody would benefit by that. Everybody in town would benefit by that.
You know, but then there's multiple trails. You know,
Yep.
what are we, you know, are we talking about?
Yeah, which is beyond my expertise. but-
South Brody to Marsh Road? Are we talking about Antolini to the Survey
Yeah.
Farm? Are we talking about Jones Mountain Trail? You know,
We need somebody that's a little bit more refined in that area than we are, I think. But, as far as cost goes, I have no idea what kind of cost that is. But it's certainly something that we should look into, because that's something everybody can benefit by, which is one of our goals, obviously. As far as this is concerned, what are you guys' thoughts on this? You know, obviously, technically speaking, the funds are not there for us to just say, go and do it.
but the timing's right because the budget process is getting
Yeah.
ready to go. So now's the time to really outline the
Right.
priorities.
Right, and hopefully the Browns Corner situation will come in less than what's been appropriated, which I think is 90?
Yeah,
Somewhere
I thought it
around-
was 85 or 90,
Yeah, okay,
you know.
all right.
Hey,
Let's-
you guys
let's-
have any ideas on
yeah.
what your direction is, what you think,
It'd be great to see it happen.
beyond, but I'm talking about beyond the ropes course? You know, what the ideas are going forward, because, you know, the capital subcommittee's gonna wanna see some tangible list that's not a wish list, you know, they're gonna wanna see,
Some of the items too, we're not able to come up with a dollar amount. I mean, if we wanna have the trails, there's no way we can say it's $5,000, because we just don't have any idea.
right?
So some of that is gonna be difficult, you know, trying to quantify as far as how much it's gonna cost.
I'm just talking
But,
about
yeah,
concepts at
no, I
this point, I'm
understand.
not even
No,
talking about dollars.
Yeah, no, I understand, but in order for you folks to bring it, you know, to the Board of Selectmen, to bring it to the Board of Finance, we need some kind of hard number, or at least somewhat hard number as far as what it's gonna look like. Meaning, we can't guess. If I remember correctly, I think if we wanted for the next 12 months, we have to have firm bids, if I read that.
You just, I mean,
Well,
when they all get in the room and they're dealing with
Yeah.
bids for DPW or,
Yeah, I understand.
or you guys, they're looking for just, what are we going with here?
Yeah, no, I understand, but I think it said if we want something done in the next 12 months, we need to have fairly firm numbers as far as what it's gonna cost, which that would, obviously, could be one of them. Why don't we, as a commission, refine our list? You know, Dan's asking for a 5-year plan, which is something we should do, obviously. But at least refine it to the priorities for the next fiscal year.
Even if you want a couple years out, if you're unsure and you really wanna do some, I mean, I think everybody should go, I know Dennis has taken a peek and I've gone up and taken a piece, I think the field house offers a lot of opportunity. And that really, you know, throws out the question of, is that where you want, I know that the septic system is obviously something that is on, you know, the short list for consideration at Brody. You know, that, where do we wanna do that? Is it something we wanna reconsider our position from last year, or do we wanna, we're going through the process.
What I think we should do is, I'm gonna have Dennis send out to all of you guys a list of ideas that we have for capital expenditure projects. And I'd like y'all to put some thought into it, we'll send it out to everybody. Put some thought into it and try to prioritize it in your mind, as far as what you think would be best for the town financially and to everyone involved, all residents. and then let's try to refine that as best we can. When is the Board of Finance making decisions on
They're not
March?
gonna, their next meeting is next Tuesday. So we're probably not gonna roll the budget out until February.
Okay, all right.
So
we got-
that's when it really get going.
All right, so we need to do this in the next 30 to 45 days.
And you meet before them, so
Yeah,
if we do
right.
something, and Dennis and I can work on
Okay.
a group email, and I can throw out some ideas too, and, you know, maybe if everybody ranks them, 1 to 10 and uses a point system, we'll
That's-
see
yeah,
how
that's-
they kinda,
Yeah, let's see where everybody comes in from a priority standpoint.
yeah.
Now that we're on the subject, the field house. What's in there? Is it used as storage for the town now, or what?
The only thing that's in there from the town is the police boat right now. Everything else that's in there is all wreck.
Junk.
Picnic tables, bike
Let me
racks,
take an inventory of what's
canoes,
in there.
lawnmowers, tractors.
Let's take an inventory of what's in there.
I think I got one thing in there.
Police boat? All right.
Not to say that I wanna put the streets.
There's
I just
probably
haven't
some
got
pro-
to it yet.
There's probably property of residents that's probably been in there for years, would be my guess. Would I be
You
right about
say,
that? Canoes.
Some boats, couple canoes.
tag sale?
All right, let's take an inventory of what's in there, and if we need any of it, and if we don't need any of it, we can clean that thing out.
It's really, it's opened up. I mean, there's still a lot of construction stuff set up in there, cause they're still using, a lot of space for, they had a lot of wood in there. But, and the stage has all been opened up. Those side walls on the stage have been removed, so it's a much more open, the stage has been completely cleaned. So,
Meaning is, the stage is removed, or has been
no, the stage is
still there?
still there, but the side walls that had those 2 little rooms in the back that were totally useless, those partition walls have been taken out. And the stage has been completely cleaned. I mean, they've done a lot of dump runs up there. But they haven't taken anything sports related, obviously, to the dump. They've just tried to clean out the junk.
I mean, right now, the way that the condition of the building is now, right now, camp is probably the primary use of it as far as recreation is concerned, right now. So, you wanna finish up with what you're talking about there, what it looks like? Or-
Well, I could just throw the pictures around
Are
so
they
everybody
finished
can
with
see.
it, or are they, where are they at?
Well, the entirety of the shingling and the trusses and the roof structure are in and complete. I went quickly, obviously. This is the rear side of the wall during construction. And then obviously this is what it looks like. This is, obviously when they put in the new trusses, they did engineered trusses and, ripped everything off and then plywood and shingle. As I said to you before, so that's the back side also. This was the condition of the front side, which was terrible. That was really, if you got a close-up look, you could see how much it was sagging between the trusses. Terrible. This is the front side that I took Saturday, and they've long since finished, but now they're working to enclose, as I said, this area here on all 4, and then they have to cut in the trim back those, remember the protruding things, they're cutting off the decayed wood, and then they'll eventually be encapsulated. And then this is what the engineered trusses look from the inside. So, they've come a long way. I mean, it really looks good.
Does the work that's been done on it, does it have, would the building inspector allow more use of that building than what it's now used for? I think didn't he have a
In the
maximum?
past, it was, I think it said small group 20 to 25. That was the last, building inspector take on it.
I think we're still just in the
No, I understand.
beginning stages
Yep,
here.
yep.
I think we still have a lot of clean out to do, a lot of organizing, and, some decisions really need to be made about how Dennis wants to use it or what goes on there, but I think the logical next step is, which I would put in the email, is to, continue to seal to the weather by new siding. I think that would be, that would obviously seal it up tight.
Let's take an inventory of what's in there.
Okay.
If there's anything salvageable that can be used by camp or, I don't know, donated.
Probably not gonna be much.
or just clean it out.
Yeah.
And we might wanna firm it
Canoes
up
or
with.
boats might be useful for camp.
We actually do use the.
Firm it up
Yeah.
with the building inspector and the fire marshal too. I mean, there have been improvements, just firm up as far as what we can do with it for summer camp. Because I know it was looked at, what, 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, so why don't we firm that up, just so we know exactly how we can use it and to what extent we can use it.
I haven't really thought to talk to him about it yet, because I'm just really starting.
Yeah, it does
But-
become,
He can go up, obviously, I think he's been up there to see it.
yeah.
But I think the big thing that we all need to consider, I know that there was attempts by Friends of Brody to do fundraising, so the thing that I see that's in there, I mean, there's some junk that needs to be cleaned out, there's obviously some construction debris, but there was a donation of a massive amount of siding, vinyl siding that's in there. It's in pretty good shape. They've kind of gotten rid of all the old wet soggy cardboard boxes and piled up that, and then there's at least 15 windows and sliding doors and things like that. And I think that's really a decision of, you know, maybe the building inspector can take a look at it and say, is any of this stuff usable for a
Right.
future project or not? I mean, I hate to look a gift horse in the mouth, but if it's not something that we all can think this is the vision for the town, I mean, the siding is a beige vinyl siding. I don't know if that's what everybody envisions being put on that. Everything else up there is a natural sided exterior. I don't think there's any building up there that has a vinyl sided
Yeah, probably.
exterior or not,
I
but
think so.
it is far removed. I don't even know if there's enough that would even do the building.
Is this building, does the town envision this building currently to be used as storage for the time being?
I mean,
I mean, I
perhaps
guess-
winter storage, you know? I mean, you still use, you gotta find a place for all your lawnmowers and tractors.
I'm just looking at it from like a town crew standpoint.
If I mean, eventually we're
Space
gonna get a
out.
new town garage around here. The only two big things that we put in there from town crew that are not parks related are the police boat, which is used at Brody, and the street sweeper.
So your answer is no, you won't use it as storage?
I could find another place for those too.
Okay, all right,
I think that, you know,
all right, let's see what's in there, and have the building inspector and fire marshal come down and tell us. It's a good idea, what's usable, what's not, and,
Yeah.
what exactly we can use it for, and if we can build it into camp use, let's do that. All right. We need to talk about fees, all right? Let's see how we go for that, guys.
I was at Brown's Corner today, and the two main gates are locked. The old entrance is wide open, and you can drive all over Brown's Corner. There is no impediment, you drive across the basketball court and right down onto the ball fields. So if either the town crew or Tim or somebody could relay those telephone poles so that you can't drive out onto the fields, it might be a good idea.
Yeah, protect what we have now.
Obviously, a gate by the road would be the best, but I don't think that's gonna happen, because Tim needs access to get that stuff out, so if at least you can block the fields off somehow, while he still has access there.
I can do that.
We got some building material that we can throw there.
Before we move on, just while we're talking about general park stuff, because I know you don't have to think. Once again, the ice skating rink is flooded and ready to go. The fire department, again, has offered to bring over their portable light. It's very popular, people love it. They actually asked us to add music this year. Perhaps you guys want to consider,
Robin will sing.
that'd be great. Get a little campfire down there, some marshmallows.
I have no problem with that light, I know we don't start a discussion,
Is
but,
that Pine Meadows, that thing?
yeah, yeah.
I think that if we all agree that all parks are not equal and one size does
Yeah,
not fit
I
all,
have, any of you folks have any objection to having that thing
No,
lit up for this.
Does anybody wanna put a limitation of something like 9 o'clock at night on it?
Yeah, I don't, what's it been in the past? I mean, it's been,
It's, the guys from the fire department are looking for guidance. And I told them, I said, look, I was thinking just weekends until 9.
yeah, I was just gonna say, let's do.
I think that,
anything.
that
Yeah,
what we should do is what the schools do with their property. Whoever wants to put lights up and use it at late, we fill out a form, they submit it to Dennis, and they tell us who's in charge and when they want it, and who's gonna turn the lights off. And make sure that everybody's out of the park before they turn the lights off. That's your safety issue, somebody either doesn't turn the lights off, or they wanna go home and there's 5 kids left there waiting for their parents, they shut down all the lights and they leave, and you've got 5 kids out there ice skating in the dark. So you get the form that the school uses, it's a standard form, it's got everything on it that we need, and whoever wants to use lights in a park needs to fill that form out and give it to Dennis, so we got a phone number that we can call at 8:30 and say, hey, we've got 5 kids down there and no adults.
Who has that? Who's in charge of that?
village,
Okay,
villages,
Alright.
and they've given me contact.
all right.
But that way, you know, we can make sure that the lights are on as long as kids are there, and that they're gonna be shut off, whether we choose 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, but if you're doing it for kids, 9 o'clock is probably late.
Yeah, and weekends is a good idea unless there's school vacation or something like that. That's probably what we should follow. Weekends or school vacation.
Why don't we just go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, max 9? If people want more, they'll let us know.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable hour where it doesn't infringe.
We're looking at how many vacations would there be? 1? The kids might wanna get out, during school vacation, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. I have no issues with that. Nobody has any issues with
No.
opening it, they'll turn those lights on tonight, good. All right. Then why don't you speak to, we need to come up with some guidelines, but weekends certainly. And I don't have any problems with 9 o'clock. Anybody have any issues with that? We're not gonna get, 18-year-old kids out there skating, so.
But it's been popular, it's nicely set up, it's all level now.
Yeah, that was good, Eric. Okay. The fee list. As I mentioned before, we need to get information out in our next brochure, which is, when's it go out?
It's probably gonna be late March, try to get out late March so we can,
Okay.
in February,
So-
get April.
Alright, so if we were, I don't have any intention of coming up with a solid solution to this tonight, and going down line by line. I don't think we should do that, we don't have time to do that. So what I'd like to do is to have a general discussion on this, on certain areas of, of our fees and, what direction they should go in, possibly how much, but not make a decision until maybe probably the February meeting. So Dennis, if we work backwards where the brochure has to be mailed out the end of March, take me back to when we would need solid information for you to populate the brochure.
Well, we're gonna mail it out the end of March, so I would say, if I can get something first week of March, that would pretty much work, because we have to, get it off to Jones, so you can do the typesetting, and the printer takes about a week and a half, so March, first week of March, we can nail it down by then.
Okay, so if we could, let's have a little bit of a discussion now, if you guys don't mind. And then let's try to have a pretty good indication as to where we're headed by the February meeting. And if we need more discussion on it, we'll go to March, but I'd rather have everything wrapped up by, the February meeting. So that, Dennis is not backed into a corner and our meeting is March 6th or something, or whatever it is. So we can get this moving. We've held the fees pretty much stagnant for the last, I'm gonna guess 3 years probably. That's all right?
Yep, since about
Where
09.
we've really not moved, for a few reasons. One, the economy has just not been very good. And we were doing the best we could to help out, residents of the town. There's a flip side to that. The flip side is that we have less to work with in the end as far as any kind of extra funds for any kind of capital expenditures. Okay? There's only so much available. And by holding down fees, obviously, kind of limits what we can do, or less we can do, let's put it that way. It's my thinking that we probably start to move these up a little bit, because things are getting expensive, unfortunately. And we do try our best to employ as many kids as possible during the summer, to give as many kids jobs as we can, whether it be lifeguards or camp counselors, et cetera. And actually, Dennis and his group have done a very good job at that. It's become the most popular job in town, just about. I mean, the amount of applications he gets is astronomical. And he's done a pretty good job of trying to get as many kids employed as possible as well. Any thoughts, you guys, on any one of these topics, whether it be beach stickers, boats?
They just need to make one change under Camp Brody. Regular camp, non-resident, that was actually 99, it wasn't 130. So it's been 99 for 09, 10, 11.
Okay.
And specialty camps, extended day, non-resident, we didn't add the $30.
You didn't?
For the past 3 years, so that's what we decided to,
We can start with non-resident,
yep.
leave it at 129,
Yeah.
throwing it out.
Got Camp
Any-
Camp Brody,
Feedback.
regular camp, non-resident.
Yeah, that's been 99 for the past 3 years.
It says 129 on there.
So it's the same as a resident?
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the reasons why we did that, Paul, was to encourage more of the kids that go to regional, or eventually go to regional, junior high and high school. And we have had a fair amount of our camps and kids come in, which is good, which they get to know each other. There's other programs in town, travel soccer, travel basketball, and baseball, where they mingle with kids from other towns. So that was one of the reasons why we did it, and also to boost the number of kids that were coming in.
How long is our full day?
Full day,
Regular camp?
regular camp 9 to 2. 9 to 2, and extended day 7:30 to 5.
Well, Canton is the next town over, and their full day is 135. So I don't know why, I would certainly consider for everybody to think about till February, perhaps doing 135 for non-resident. The next town over is at 135. Barkhamsted apparently doesn't have one, so, and if we wanna continue to do that, John, maybe what we would consider is 3 rates. A regional 7 rate, because everybody's gonna be at regional 7 in their 6th to 7th grade. And then a just plain non-resident, which would be for Torrington, Canton, Howington, the other towns around us that may be using our facility because we have the greatest camp around. Well, then
Let's,
pay for using it.
yeah, if we can somehow get a breakout of non-resident, I mean, how many are actually from regional 7 towns? My guess is probably just Barkhamsted. I don't know if we get kids in from Norfolk or Colebrook.
Only a couple, one or two from those areas.
Yeah.
But I would have no problem in charging Canton.
So can we consider that the vast majority of non-resident kids are from outside the regional school district? Or we can look it up, see.
Winstead, Barkhamsted, I think that's where you get the
Triangle.
most, yeah.
Alright.
Torrington.
If you had to guess,
See, Winston and Torrington I wouldn't have a problem charging them for 135. That's not
What's-
the
what's-
regional 7 base.
what's the percentage of non-resident to resident campers?
I would say residents, we're at about, I would say somewhere around 82% residents, and
Okay.
everybody else outside of New Hartford.
Okay. Because we do actually get a decent amount of kids, at least we used to, I don't know if we do anymore, of, you know, kids coming in visiting grandparents for, you know, a couple of weeks from out of state.
Yep.
And they use the
Still
facility,
do.
which is something that we would encourage, obviously. Well, I have no issue with raising, you know, if you guys want to think about it, Dan threw out a number of 135. Why don't we, when you send out the email to everybody asking us to prioritize capital expenditure, why don't we put some ideas, something that we draw up here in that email as well, and make the rest of the members aware, these are the things that we talked about, non-resident, regular camp, it's been suggested 135, you know, what are your
Because
thoughts on
and
that?
I think as we go through this process, and perhaps we do need to raise the fees, but we still are, people are still struggling, and we have a significant number of camperships that we need to give out. I mean, we're talking about on one end that we may have huge numbers of camperships that we have to limit because there's so many people in need, and at the other end, we're talking about raising the price.
Yeah.
We are service-oriented, we're not profit-driven, I don't think we should be trying to cover all our costs. Since Dennis has taken over, these programs have absorbed a lot of costs. The program or flyer itself, a lot of the costs that the town used to bear as part of our overall budget, we are now paying for through these fees and good management of the programs that we offer. I don't think we need to stress the point that we need to cover more costs for our town residents. We're providing a service. If we want departments to be independently profitable, we'll get the highway department to charge a fee per road frontage for maintenance of the road in front of your house. And we can turn the highway into a profit center. We can turn every department in this town into a profit center if we think hard enough. I don't think that's the goal of town commissions, to be a profit center. I think we provide a service and cover the expenses of that service. Another way we could get very businesslike, cut the staff in half, we'll double our profits, and we'll have all those kids out of work.
So
I
as
think
far-
what
as
we
far as the
provide
fee-
for the kids is important.
Yeah.
So as far as the fees are concerned, what do you say?
If we raise them, it should be nominal. I mean, I don't think we need to look to be a profit center. Out-of-town people, yeah, let them pay for the services.
Yeah,
that
because
we
I don't think
provide.
I don't think we've talked about resident.
But resident
fees.
fees, I think we need
Yeah.
to be very, very cautious about what we do in these times.
And that's what we've always, and I don't think I don't think anybody's recommended going up to $135 for a resident. We just talked about non-resident, which we probably should increase. From a resident standpoint, we've always been partial to the residents of the town. I mean, we've kept that thing low for several years now. You know, the flip side to this is if we do want to improve, make even minor improvements to the camp, we're going to need capital money, which the program account, that's what it's used for.
See, that's where I think we're wrong, John. No, but the capital account needs to be argued strongly through the finance board that it's the responsibility of the town, not the individuals that use it. That would be like telling the highway department, go charge for the road maintenance. Don't look to the
We
town
do charge for the
to-
road maintenance,
to-
other
to
taxes.
do that.
I would say
So-
I say that the only problem here is that you're charging $2.83 an hour per kid, and as I brought up at my last meeting, 10 years ago when my kid was in daycare, they were charging me $175
That's
a
a
week.
profit organization, Dan.
Well, you can't argue about not having any money over here to fix things and be giving things away over here. So if you wanna have that debate, you're gonna be broke at the end of the year, Dan.
Yeah, but do you understand what Dan is saying?
I do.
No, it's different.
No, it's
We-
not. I
you know.
understand the concept.
But there's one thing to think of though, depends. If we don't pay through it through these fees, you're gonna pay through it through taxes. Because somebody has to pay for something somewhere.
Correct, absolutely.
So one
right.
way or another, you're gonna have
These
to
are-
pay, so is it gonna be fees or is it gonna be taxes?
Absolutely, Paul, but the quality of the camp that we provide, the quality of the education that we provide, the quality of the road care that we provide, the quality of the senior facilities that we provide, all enhance the lifestyle and the demand for lifestyle in New Hartford, which enhances your home's value. And 80% of your net worth is in your home. We could be like Winston. You will find houses on Wallens Hill, Linbark Hampstead, that sell for $300,000 to $400,000 directly across the street in Winston. The exact same house sells for about $225,000. The only difference is the community that's in, because of what that community provides for its residents. And yes, it's done through taxes, but if I pay $1 more in tax to provide quality recreation in this town, it's gonna increase the value of my home when I wanna resell it, or increase the quality of my life within this town. So I'm willing to pay that tax. So I think we need, when we start talking about those issues, whether it's recreation, roads, education, senior facilities, what towns provide their residents on a whole is very important. And yes, it's done through taxation or through revenues. I think we need to be very careful on how we assess the revenues to individual people. Because I don't use the town roads, I live on a state road, all I use is state roads. Why the hell should I pay my taxes for the town road? I don't have any frontage on the town road.
And I think we've done a pretty good job of providing a good product for the residents at a very good price. I don't know if there's any questions about that. Here's what I'd like to do. Object if you want. What I think we should do is, each one of us, kind of fill in the blanks, because Dennis has 2012 on the right-hand side. You know, over the next couple of weeks, put in your thoughts as far as what you think we should do in each category. And then send it back to Dennis, either by email or fax or whatever, drop them off, whatever you want to do. Come up with some suggestions. And then Dennis send everybody's out to office, so that we can take a look at what each of us thinks, so that when we get back here the next time around, which is in February, we'll have a pretty good idea what we're all thinking, instead of going back and forth here. At least we have a general direction. That sound okay to you guys?
Yes.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll get the other Eddie
Yeah,
and Don and
we'll
Sal.
make sure they get, we'll call them and make sure that they get all this. But I think we're all in agreement, we're gonna increase non-resident, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. And take a look at the other ones too. Beach stickers have been, as you can see, it's been $60 for the last 3 years. We haven't changed it.
What is it that's staying for coke?
I have no idea.
Find that out, Dennis?
I don't think it's much off. I
It's
personally,
something similar to what we,
Yeah, I
Pretty
think
similar.
it was,
beach is making money. I don't, beach is taking a lot of,
I can tell us that.
that's not the, I think if you look at the numbers and the income, the expense report, I think the beach is not the issue.
Yeah, no, but we look at Brody as Brody, whether we beach or camp or whatever, it all goes into the same general pot, so, take a look at each one of these and,
you could
you
check
know,
that out,
be
find out
realistic
what
about
it
it.
is they stand for.
Yeah.
Because I know for a while, we were
Non-residents?
more.
Rent Berkshire a lot?
Non-residents?
Hmm.
Not a lot, we get a few.
How many,
Maybe 4 or 5 a year, something like that.
Mm.
nonprofits are, we had a lot of nonprofit use by the,
Non-profit use? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
mostly.
A lot of non-profit use.
Yeah. For those of you, if you're a nonprofit group in town, we offer a facility, it's no charge.
And it was
Nonprofit
really,
out of
really
town, what
booked
do they
this year,
do?
right?
Yeah,
They have to
yeah.
Nonprofit out of town.
Non-profit what?
Out of town?
Oh,
But it is used quite a bit by
Yeah.
nonprofits in town. my suggestion is we don't do anything with the resident use of Berkshire Hall. If we had to guess, how many rentals will we have for residents, you know?
For resident, I would say, man, we probably do about 10 or 12 grand, so, 250 into,
That's fair enough,
Yeah.
that's a fair enough, okay.
The prices, do we,
40,
can you be
50,000.
more,
40.
can we be more definitive? I mean, this 250, is that from 8 AM to 8 PM, or is that from 8 to noon, or that's for however long you wanna use it during the day?
That's during the day. Usually, let's say if someone has a wedding, I
But,
mean,
right,
they're
do
gonna
we
have
need
it.
to say that it's from, for all day?
No, it's pretty
It's
much
good.
all day, cause they go in there and set up a couple hours, set up, and, so it's
Yeah.
pretty much all day.
It's a great wedding facility, doesn't cost much.
Great, yeah.
$250 for a hall.
Yeah.
Mm.
It is.
And they're usually
It is.
about anywhere from 7 to 10 weddings every year.
Good.
Take a look at the boats, moorings, I mean, take a look at everything if you would, and, you know, you use as part of your judgment, you're a resident as well as a, you know, on the Recreation Commission. And let's come up with some ideas, get it in within the next 2 weeks to Dennis, he can then turn around and send it out, send everybody's out to everybody else, so we all can get a pretty good idea where we're at, all right?
With with the boat mooring, canoe storage and so on, we don't have any difference, resident, non-resident.
No.
Do we get,
Oh, yeah, we get a lot of out of town for.
yeah,
For,
so
Well,
it
that's
might
a good
be,
point.
yeah,
Someone should consider.
Good place to delineate.
because
And- But
we
we
have
also,
run out of space too,
we get a lot of out of town for that.
yeah,
and a lot about, yeah,
well, and they're required to buy a beach pass.
Yes, we
Yeah,
do buy beach
yeah.
passes.
So, you know, they spend whatever it is for a canoe storage, but they also have to spend $235.
$235, yes, so it's.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
but it's a good idea, it's a thought.
Dan, do you think you will have any formal thoughts on what you wanna do with that great dock acquisition that you got? In terms of
You broke it back out.
what you wanna do with them this summer?
Don and the guys were gonna see what they could do with them this spring, and then the
That-
goal was to get the police boat out of the area blocking the canoes.
Because that would might impact the boat moorings if you're thinking about adding those as potential docking space down there.
I wasn't really thinking anything other than trying to move the police boat out of that.
Yeah, but
Away
you
from
got
that
some,
dock.
I mean, that was a great coup for getting those. I mean, that's $20,000 worth of docks that we've been looking at over the last 2 or 3 years that you got for free.
Thank you, West Hill Beach Club.
So, if that could be included in, you know, whatever your plans are with those, or your thoughts
I-
about those,
I
because that's a
have no
pretty
other-
substantial quantity
You
of
guys
of
decide what
docks.
you guys decide what you wanna do with them. My whole thing is, all I wanted to do
Right.
by acquiring those is open that area up by extending the dock out and get the police boat out of that area. I was just trying to free up the logjam, because that, whenever I'm up there, is the big complaint from the canoers and boaters, is you can't get in because the police boat's in the way.
Mm.
Because depending on what the total length is and all that of all the docks, I mean, you've got a lot of docks there.
We got 6, I believe.
Yeah, I know, but they're different length, there must be like
Well, they're-
80 feet of docks or something, I think there's a lot of docks up there you got.
Yeah.
And that would really increase the mooring if we could work that into this scenario.
Well, I wanted them to take them up to the field house and bring them inside over the winter and check them out, to see if they're,
Right,
you know, obviously the West Hill Beach Club's not getting rid of them because they're brand new.
right.
So, see what they can do with them, and then in the spring, paint them up. And, put them out. As far as I know, I don't think we really,
So we should have some plan for that, where they go and how they go and,
well, they just connect to the existing moorings.
Yeah, but, yeah,
there's a few areas.
plus there's, if you know boats, and I don't, but if you lay them out right, you'll get more boats than
Right.
fewer boats when you hook them together.
Right,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Well, you know, again, this
We
goes
need
back
a little
to,
science in here.
this goes to, back to the capital
Great.
thing with the whole boat mooring area is a disaster waiting to happen. I mean, that's, talk about something that's a capital project in the waiting. But, you know, and that'll probably be on the list that Dennis and I set out, and
Yeah.
I didn't even think to mention it. But, yeah, I mean, we can talk about that. I really didn't have any idea in my head other than,
Get 'em.
Yeah.
I talked to
Good
them
idea.
and they said, hey, we got some.
No, it's a good idea.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Great.
it's a good idea. Well, think on that too. Any other topics we need to bring up? You brought up your brown squatter thing that you want to talk about, okay. Anything else on the list? Yeah, anything you want?
I'm good,
Okay.
I'm good. I think we covered everything that you and I talked about.
Yeah, I did too.
Great.
I think so. All right, then you got a couple things you gotta do. Get out to us,
Yep.
talk to the fire marshal, building inspector, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Okay, guys, happy New Year. Meeting adjourned.
Sounds good?
Motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Second.